Yeah. If there's anything that you don't understand, or people are like, stop, come back to this point, or we could just do like all questions at the end. So I got a little clickbaity title here about the secret sauce to getting more sales, but I promise to deliver lots of value within here for you. Is something that people really, really struggle with and have like an aversion to the word sales. So I'm going to be talking about that. A little intro to me. So I'm Elizabeth Stiles. I'm a fashion brand consultant. I've worked in the industry for a good 12, 13 years now. I used to work as a buyer. So I was working for Next, Miss Selfridge and Asda. Then I went to work at Supplier for about 5 years. So rather than buying in from suppliers, I was then selling into the buyers. So seeing the full 360 view of the buying and selling process in retail, and also worked really closely with lots of different manufacturers. But at that supplier, I was given a sales target of selling 10,000 units a week into different retailers. And I was managing accounts for New Look, River Island, and also worked for Urban Outfitters, warehouse. And so across all different retailers, I had to sell 10,000 units a week, which I did. One week, I think I did about 150,000 units. So I was like, kind of smashed the target. So I'm going to talk to you all about selling today and how to do it. I work now, so I left my job in 2018 and I now work one-to-one with independent brands exclusively. And the three key areas that I work on with them is the manufacturing side of things, marketing, and also the mindset work that comes along with those two things, because it's definitely not easy starting a business. So first of all, I'm going to talk to you about the reason why I think you hate selling, because people only ever remember bad sales experiences. You feel really gross, like you're kind of being really cheesy, like somebody off of The Apprentice, where they're really pushing themselves and making themselves look great. Or like, you know, the dad in Matilda, who's like this car salesman, who's really pushy or like really scammy, that rips people off. Or it might feel really hardcore, like Wolf of Wall Street, or you just feel like a cow, like the woman in Pretty Woman, the shop. And so these are all like the experiences that we've grown up with. They were just off the top of my head as well, like the things that you think about when you think about selling. But I'm sure there's lots more examples that we've kind of grown up with, and you may have even experienced in real life as well. Maybe you've gone to buy a car, or maybe you've gone to buy something and you just remember going, oh, they were so pushy and they were so desperate, and I would never want to be like that. So I'm here to tell you, nobody in this room is at risk of doing any of these things. Like if you have signed up through the Loan Design Club, you've probably got your head screwed on and you're not going to be doing any of those things. So it's almost like I'm giving you permission to put all those worries to bed, because you absolutely, no matter how hard you try, you're not going to come across like that. So that's lesson number one for sure. And the mistakes I see people making with their sales strategy, if you like, is that they're not posting enough, they're not posting consistently, they're only posting like surface level beautiful images. And I'm kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier. Who does this remind you of? A really gorgeous hot man, but who is super flaky, and you never really know where you stand with them. Yes, they're gorgeous, but oh, don't really trust you. I don't know if you're going to let me down. I don't know if you're worth investing my time into, because I don't know if you're just going to be showing up now, but then you'll be gone tomorrow. And ain't nobody got time for that. So we are going to be working on not being that kind of person in our business. So what to do instead is to be reliable, and reliable often as well. And the reason I use the word reliable rather than like consistent is because I saw this on, there's a girl called Lucy Sheridan on Instagram who is so lovely. And she said, I don't really like the word consistent because it means that you're doing the same thing over and over again, whereas being reliable means that you're showing up often, but you also, it allows for that flexibility to change. So where on Instagram, like reels have come in recently, and like Instagram are massively pushing video content, even like TikTok, YouTube, Pinterest, they're all starting to introduce video. And so it allows you to be flexible, but still showing up often. We want to be speaking to people's pain points. And I know sometimes people are like, oh, I don't know what that means. I'm only selling pens, or I'm only selling dresses. And that is absolutely not it at all. So we'll go through that. I want you to be telling stories about moments and not objects. Understand how you like to be sold to. Remember that people have a choice, and to be your own hype woman. And so I'm going to go through all of these points individually, so no worries. And I can send this to Amanda afterwards as well, so you can keep this. But do not try to sell anything but a transformation. And so the most obvious example of this, and a bit of homework for you, is to stop skipping past adverts on the TV and actually watch them and understand the transformation that they're selling. And the most obvious one is like a cleaning advert. So they go, I'm going to take your sides from being dirty to being clean with like one wipe. Or you see those adverts for like B&Q, where the room looks all grey and drab, and then it's like a tornado, and then it looks beautiful again, or like made.com or something like that. And so what we're going to be talking about is like how to sell that transformation. Now, before we get started, on the point of consistency and reliability and showing up often and showing up with purpose, is that people, I imagine a lot of you have started your business from a point of passion and enthusiasm for your business. And so you might be spending most of your time making, but then not allowing enough time for the selling part of it. And I saw this really great breakdown online once, which I always share, which is how to either break down your day, break down your week, to be making sure that 40% of your time is within marketing, 40% of your time is within making, 10% is about like research and development, looking to the future, looking for new trends, like ideas for new products, and then 10% is with admin. And the problem I see people making is that it's just spend like loads and loads of time making, or loads and loads of time looking for new ideas, or loads and loads of time just like fiddling around with stuff. And therefore they don't think they have enough time for marketing. Actually, we want to be creating about this level of balance. So as a bit of marketing 101, nobody will ever have bought from you confidently, or you will never have bought anything confidently, knowingly or unknowingly, without ticking each of these boxes. So knowing who you are, liking what you do, and trusting you enough to give you hand over the money. And if I was to go through this, if somebody knows who you are and they like you, but they don't trust you, is probably 90% of brands on Instagram. So you're finding them, you like what they've got, but you're a bit like, do they do that in my size? Will it fit? When will it come? What happens if I send my money and it doesn't turn up the way I want it? And so all of those questions like plant seeds of doubt into your mind, and therefore you're lacking in trust with people. And so if somebody knows the brand and they trust the brand, but they don't necessarily like anything in it, an example of that is like the department store in the UK, which is Debenhams, and it's going under because you know who they are and you trust the brand, but everything in it is like very meh. And so you don't buy anything. And so if you only have like and trust, that an example of that is that I kind of know what I want. I know exactly what I want. I want this, 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 and this. I just can't find it anywhere. And therefore, nobody's going to buy from you. So you do need to make sure that you have all three of these like nailed in order for somebody to like tip the balance and then buy from you. And the good thing, just as a side note, is the reason why everyone like bangs on about speaking to the camera and like, you should be speaking to the camera, or you should get in front of the camera, you should show your face, be the face of your brand, is speaking on camera and being on video ticks all three boxes in one. So it's like somebody pressing fast forward on the customer journey of, you know, this period of getting to know, like, and trust somebody, on average, with a brand on Instagram, might take like up to 3 months. But when you're speaking on video, it's like somebody's got the button on their finger on the button pressing fast forward, and it could really, really shorten down to like a month. So you're like, oh my God, I love this girl. Like, she's always chatting away. I really like her. I feel like we could be mates. I feel like we could be, yeah, hang out in real life. I really want to support her. I'm going to go and have a look on her website. Whereas you wouldn't really get that like emotional connection with somebody if you're just constantly like hiding behind the camera. That's for a whole other talk, which I could also do for you guys as a follow-up to this. So the first point was about being reliable and about prioritizing your marketing. There is no such thing as I don't have time for marketing. It means that something else is taking up too much of your time that needs to be like categorized down in order to make time for the marketing. And if you think about it like this, you're basically protecting the future of your business, because yes, you might have lots of orders today, that's great, but talking about your product and making time for marketing is making sure that you have orders in the future as well. And the way I see it is when people don't necessarily, I always use Instagram as an example because it's where a lot of people do spend time, you know, like a lot of fashion consumers are on there ready to buy. If you didn't show up to work, would you still expect to get paid? And the answer is obviously no. And so I show up on my Instagram as if it were my work, like, because it is. And even if it's not at the moment, maybe it's like your side hustle. I want you to try and show up as much as you can to show that you are trying to make that your full-time thing, and trying to show up on there maybe like 3 times a week, so that you then start transitioning and getting into the habit of being on there as a reason to get paid. Because how is anybody going to know about you? How is anyone going to like what you're doing? How is anybody going to trust you if you're not there? And if you're not going to shout about it, nobody else is going to do it for you. And marketing is just really, really important work to help you get paid and to help you protect the future of your business. And I actually found this graphic on Instagram from somebody called Namaste Jenny. She's American. I don't really know how to say it. It probably sounds better in an American accent. And it says the reason you're not making any sales, and one is because the price is too high. And actually what's happening is that there is a lack of trust somewhere. And that's why it is, because I see a lot of people, you know, fall into the trap of doing like giveaways and 20% off, and it's like, oh, it's still not really working. Like, it gives it a little bit of a push and then it's just like pulling teeth again. And it's because you're not focusing on building trust and relationships with your audience. And so when I said earlier that the customer journey can be about 3 months, we have this weird thing that we do when we're a business owner, that we go, oh, we've posted about it. I posted about it a couple of times, or like once on my grid, but nobody's really doing anything. Nobody's taking any action. Nobody's buying anything. And it's because no one acts like that. Like, I imagine anybody in here, it's unlikely that you're selling something for like under £3, under £5, you know, just that impulse purchase, like, oh, bugger it, I'll get it, I'll have it, you know, like sweets at the checkout, or a quick birthday card here and there. You're selling things that people want to take their time and mull over. So imagine you are a business owner, which you probably all are, or budding entrepreneurs, and you post about something and you're just like, oh, I don't get why nobody's buying this. Okay, so we'll park that and then think about how you act as a customer. And so if it were me, I get advertised a brand and I press follow, love it, yeah, like all their stuff, and then you put your phone down. And then you pick your phone up again, like a couple of hours later, and they're probably the first thing that gets pushed to you because you started following them recently. You have a little look, like a couple of their pictures, bang, 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 your phone rings, and you pick up the phone, the moment's gone. The next day, you pick up your phone again, it may or may not come up on your feed. A couple of days later, you pick your phone up again, you see this brand, and you might comment, or you might watch some of their stories. And then you go back again. And do you see how long this is going on for? Like, I'm boring myself here, but is that what I'm trying to get across to you is that it takes ages. That's the point of that demonstration, is that it takes forever for somebody to find you and then actually commit to buy from you. Because what starts happening is that you get a little bit deeper and deeper and deeper into the brand story. And so the fourth time you kind of come across their page, then you might click through to their website, poke around on there a bit, maybe add something to basket, then your dinner's ready. And then you come back again, you have another think about it, like, oh, I'll sleep on it, I'll come back to it. Of course, there are people out there who are just like, oh, I'm going to get it, you know, but most people take a little bit of time and consideration over the purchases that they're making. And that is why you need to keep showing up and being reliable. Because if your customer journey is about 3 months long, you don't know from the point of somebody finding you to the point of buying something, you don't know in that 3 months when they're going to be ready. And so what you have to do is show up consistently so that when they're ready to buy a beautiful puff sleeve dress, you're the first person that they see. But because you don't know when they're going to buy, you've just got to keep going and showing up so that you're there for when they are ready. And I posted something on my Instagram today about patience being like such a key factor, which is underestimated in sales, because it really does take time. And what people do is they give up before they see instant results, and it just doesn't work like that. Consistency is everything, or reliability, should I say. And when we're actually creating content, we want to be making sure that we're solving a problem. Every successful business solves a problem of a specific kind of audience. And it helps you serve your audience in a really authentic way when you create your content from this point. And so when you're shopping, all consumers shop from a very, very selfish perspective. It's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's how everyone works. And so people don't go around Topshop thinking, oh, I wonder if Philip Green really enjoys having this top in here. Or I wonder if that girl over there is going to buy that for her prom. Or I wonder if those shoes will fit that girl over there. Like, that is just like ridiculous. When people go shopping, they go, I want that, I want that, I want that, I want that. Maybe this would look cute for you, like your friend that's with you, and you can have a little chat about it. But it's like, me, I want this, I'm going for dinner, and I want to buy a top for myself. And that's fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But your job as a brand is to understand that and meet your customer where she's at. And so what I want you to do is write down these two things. It can come from either perspective. It's fine. If you're already selling, it's probably better to go for the second one. The problem and frustration I solve for my customer is like ... Or if you're already selling, coming at it from a customer's perspective, saying, the reason I bought this product is because ... And the reason I say that's a better one to do if you've already started selling is because you've probably got like feedback, DMs, customer testimonials, and reviews of your product. Like, your problem that the problem that you're solving will be within there somewhere, and making sure that you use their language to then promote your product.
Cool, thank you. If I could just jump in, we have a quick question.
Yes.
Are you happy to answer it now?
Yeah, of course.
Cool. From Izzy, do you think people will be buying things earlier this year due to COVID, so the customer journey may be shorter?
No, I don't. I think they might be buying things like people have started to think about Christmas already. I know that that like people are starting to think about what to buy for gifts and so on. I think people might buy earlier because they're worried about like delivery times, perhaps. But I think um, people are very cautious about where they're spending their money at the moment. And so, if anything, it might be slightly longer because they're really, really thinking about where they're spending their money. It's that like it, where the world pre-COVID was like, oh, I'm just going to nip into Zara on my lunch break and get this top. I feel like it's slightly shifting away from that now. And it's not to say that people aren't doing that anymore. Of course they are. Like I went shopping the other day and Zara, H&M and Primark were the three shops that all had a massive queue outside. Slightly depressing, but you know, that's the world we're living in. That's the way we are. That's where we're at. But there is definitely a shift towards buying from independent businesses and making sure that they are buying from brands that align with their values. And I'd say that's something that's really important to make sure you're sharing with your audience about what your brand stands for.
Cool. I would definitely second that. Just coming from a pop-up, people are definitely a lot more cautious with spending, and you know, you don't have a lot of tourism at the moment, which is often when people tend to spend more on the spot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would second that. We have another question. Is your approach work specifically for women, or is this a unisex perspective? I found out women tend to shop differently than men.
I think men and women do definitely buy in different ways. I know I buy more frequently than my boyfriend, but he'll buy like fewer items, but really, really think about them. I think men are slightly less impulsive than women on the whole, because they buy from a slightly more practical perspective and think, oh, I need that or I need this. And yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Amanda?
I would say in my household, it's actually completely different. Like my boyfriend buys loads of stuff all the time without
Yeah.
really thinking about it. He's a lot more impulsive. Whereas
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll see a t-shirt that I like and I'll think about it for a really long time. And then I'll be like, oh, do I really, really want it? And
Yeah.
then it's always like when the occasion comes up that I wish I could wear it, then I'm like, oh, well, I need to buy it now because like
Yeah.
this is going to happen again. But I don't know. And my dad is actually the same. He will buy like anything all the time. He's very...
Yeah. So maybe it's not a male and female perspective then. Maybe it is just about like whether you're an impulse buyer or about like a consideration, like a considerate buyer.
I think it definitely comes from people's circumstance.
Yeah.
So if you've got more cash to play with, then you're more likely to be an impulse buyer.
Yeah.
Whereas I think a lot of people now are thinking about investing in the right pieces at the right time. So if they are going to start saving a bit more money to buy a piece that they really like, that they're going to treasure in their wardrobe forever, they're
Yeah.
going to make those decisions on a lot more of a longer time frame, and not be as impulsive.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe just seeing it more as like a consumer behavior rather than male and female.
Yeah. And so another comment to add on to this question, I always need to solve the problem that women window shop in store a lot or add to cart online and did not convert, while men are likely to complete purchase. What's your advice to make female impulse buyer convert more effectively? Do they need more trust or attractive content?
I think that is super broad. So it'd be tricky to answer. I would say like you could consider ads. If you know people are it without seeing your website or what you're selling, it's really difficult to say because there is a number of things that could be going wrong. It might be that there's too many buttons to get to your checkout. It could be that you like check whether you're offering the ability to check out as a guest. Give people a couple of different options to pay, so maybe Klarna, PayPal, and like the regular ways of paying, or Apple Pay, because some people are just sat in bed and think, oh, I can't be asked to go downstairs and get my bag, and so there might be like a trust barrier there. It might be about like the sizing, you know, or the delivery lead time, like those things might not be clear to people. So I'd say without seeing your website, it would be really, really tricky to say, but it could be an option if all of those things are absolutely fine, about looking at ads to retarget people who have added something to their basket and then bring them back, or maybe look at some kind of like email marketing campaign. I think if you're on Shopify, you can put a bolt on to say anybody that's added something to their basket, you follow up with an email like 3 days later and say, hi, you know, like, remember us? Is there anything we can do for you? And sometimes they give you like a 10% off offer if it's been in your basket for like 3 days. So yeah, I hope that helps.
I would definitely second the Apple Pay option. I'm like, I mean, for me personally, if I have to go get my card, I won't buy it. But if I'll buy it straight away.
Yeah, I actually, when I was younger, I used to memorize my card. I would spend like a couple of hours just like going through all the numbers. And so whenever I was or wherever I was, it didn't matter, that I could just buy it anyway. But yeah, Apple Pay makes it easier.
Cool. Okay, well, back to you.
Let's get going. So on the problem solving note, this is an example I use for Uniqlo because I'm always wearing something from Uniqlo, and I am today. So the problem is for their customer, is that, you know, say it was me, I go shopping and I don't want anything that's too fussy or frilly or girly. I just like plain clothes that I can wear loads and loads and loads, because, you know, people have different ideas about sustainability, but one of my ideas is that something that you can wear a lot and, you know, wear it to death. And so I think an easy way to do that is by wearing plain clothes. Okay, so this is an example for Uniqlo. My problem is that when I go shopping, I think everything is quite fussy and there's a lot of things out there that are of poor quality. And so for me to wear something for a really long time, I want to wear it in lots of different ways and for, you know that it's not going to fall apart basically. And so the solution that Uniqlo provide for that customer is to provide well-made plain items in lots of different colorways, sharing lots of different styling ideas in all the imagery. And it's as simple as that. Like, that is just one problem with one solution. And you could have, like, you can list as many problems and as many solutions as you like. There is no like limit to this really. It's just making sure that all your content is kind of centered back towards this problem solution focus, because otherwise it lacks a little bit of purpose, I'd say, and that's when you start floundering about not knowing what to say. Another mistake that I see people making is they say, I don't know what to say about my products anymore, you know, especially in between launches of new product, and they think, oh, I really can't talk about these shoes anymore, like I'm just so fed up of it. And the reason is because I've noticed that people get very fixated on the what. So this number 2 here, they talk about what it is all the time. But what they forget to say is like really zooming out from the product and maybe talking about who's behind the brand, or like who made the shoes, or who the shoes are for. So that's like 3 things just for who. You can talk about what the shoes are, obviously. You can talk about where they were made. You can talk about why you chose to put a perspex heel on them. You can talk about how to wear them. So maybe it's like styling tips. And then maybe when they're going to be available. And so that's like 6 different posts about one pair of shoes. You can also do it about, you can take this tip and literally apply it to any piece of content, whether it's like a launch, like you as a business owner. So who are you? What was the first thing that you created? where are you from, why did you start the brand, how do you create all the pieces, and like when are you going to launch your next collection, or something like that. Just using those like words to kickstart your, like, it's like a little trampoline to bounce your ideas off of. People just really get stuck on the what, and the problem with that is that when you only talk about the what, you're not necessarily tapping into any kind of emotion with people. And the language part of your brain is not connected to action taking. And so when you're just saying language, like just saying what it is, it doesn't really drive anybody to do anything. And you're like, these shoes are pink, they have a perspex heel, they are kitten heels, they are printed pink and blue and yellow. But when you say, here's lots of different ways to wear them, or here's where they were made, and you sort of paint this romanticized picture of the shoes and make it quite aspirational for people, you then start connecting to them on a more emotional level. And it's the emotion part of your brain that drives action, not the language part of your brain. So that is super important. Next thing is understand how you like to be sold to, and have a think about when you were last sold to. And where I put size comparison, I don't mean like buying a pen from like WH Smith or something, you know. This is about like, when did you last buy something from a brand on Instagram? Because that is probably a comparison that you could compare yourself to. Like, can you even remember the sales process? Ask yourself why you bought it. What did you enjoy about the experience? And like, I'm just going to jump this, like, did you feel completely ripped off, or did you feel like it was a bargain, or did you just feel like it was a really mutual exchange? And the thing that people do is they, going back to that bad sales experience thing at the past, at the beginning, when we were saying all the memories that you have of bad sales experiences, a lot of people just remember this ripped off part. And then you assume that you're ripping off your audience because you know the difference between the cost price and the sale price. But that is absolutely like crazy, because there is only one place where money comes into your business, and it is that gap. And so that has got, if this is going to be your living, that gap has got to pay for your rent, it's got to pay for your car, it's got to pay for your overheads, it's got to pay for your marketing, it's got to pay for your photography, it's got to pay for your website, it's got to pay for everything, it's got to pay for your life. And so that is why that gap is so important. You're not ripping people off. It's a structure for a very solid business. And so when like you think about when you bought something, and that difference again between the customer mindset and the business owner mindset, is that, you know, when you bought something that you loved, you were thrilled with it. Like, you were absolutely buzzing about it. You're probably like taking a picture of it, sending it to your mum, being like, look at this lovely new thing that I bought, and oh, I'm going to wear it to this event. And so it's like adding value to your life. But I don't know, maybe it's quite a British thing that we really downplay our own products, and it could potentially feel a little bit uncomfortable to think this, somebody might be thrilled to buy this from me. But I'm absolutely here to say that is how people will feel about your beautiful things that you're selling. I'm actually going to jump onto this one because it leads on quite nicely about like being your own hype woman. And I know that you have a real passion and enthusiasm for your products. And if you're not prepared to promote them, like, nobody else should bother caring. Like, why should anyone else care if you're not going to care? Or at least like project that you care. Like, if you're worried about fear of judgment, this is when it's really important to go back to your mission and your purpose as a business, because you're not just selling dresses, you're not just selling swimwear, you're not just selling t-shirts. There is always a greater purpose as to what you're doing. And so when you put those on a scale, there is your greater purpose about what you're doing, and then there is what other people may or may not think about you, and the likelihood of you finding out is 0 anyway. And so when you're thinking, you know, I want to create this business to, I don't know, empower women or change the world's sustainability problem, you're like, okay, like that is starting to get a little bit more important than what Linda, Auntie Linda, may or may not think about my business. Like, you have to put those comments to bed, because if you're going to let them hold you back, like, it's really, really going to be a struggle for you. So the next point on that is, like, it's none of your business what people think of you. And I mean, I'm going to say it again, it is none of your business what people think about you and your products. Your business is to run your business, and your job is to sell your products, not make everyone like you. And trust that if people aren't interested, they will naturally fall away. And if somebody has followed you, you have to assume that they are interested in what you've got to say. Because if you start going all, no, people might think I'm boring, and people, no, like, especially if we're following this format, and like, yes, if you are just talking about the what, that can get a little bit boring. But if you zoom out and like talk about all the other stuff as well, it'll be quite difficult to bore people about your product. And if people do get bored, maybe they're not your customer, and that's fine. Like, the week I sold my course, I gained 200 followers, but lost 100 people. And I'm totally fine with that. Like, I actually would rather they leave, because nobody needs that negativity in their life. But also, it might not be negativity. It might just be that they followed me 2 years ago for something that I'm not really doing anymore, and I'm not for them anymore. And you've just got to say goodbye to the people that aren't prepared to spend their money with you, and they want to spend it with someone else, and that's fine. So as a recap, I want you to be reliable. I want you to solve a problem, tell stories, understand how you like to be sold to, remember that people have a choice, and be your own hype woman. And just remember this, and just as a bit of homework, like, not skip the ads. So if you are like interested in going into it a little bit more, that was like a whirlwind tour of sales and how to show up for your business. I am actually launching a course in November called the Visibility Project. I launched it like officially today on Instagram, and I've already got about 50 people on the wait list for it. So it's completely free just to register your interest here. It's a 4-week course on showing up, being visible, creating content, what to say online, what to say in your captions to sort of like draw people over to your website. Maybe you're spending loads of time on Instagram, but you feel like it's not conveying into sales. Maybe you wake up in the morning and think, I don't know what I need to be posting. Maybe you feel out of your depth with the business side of things. Or perhaps you've had your business for a little while, and what you were doing previously isn't working anymore, and it just needs a little bit of a shake up. So yeah, it's a 4-week course, and it's covering video content. I share a 90-day content calendar. So for 3 months, you never have to worry about what you're going to say ever again. And yeah, really talking about like the psychology of how to get somebody over from lifting them off of your social media and over to your website and converting. So yeah, that will be November's project. So make sure you're on the wait list, ready to find out. And I'm open to any questions. And this is me also on Instagram at Elizabeth Styles UK, if you want to have a follow, share loads of tips and advice and stuff on there.
Amazing. Thank you so much. That was really insightful. And I always love how aesthetically pleasing your
It's got to be pretty. I can't bear ugly slides.
No, well, that's good. That's where your visibility is coming from.
Yeah, I hope so. I started really taking notice a couple of months ago about like what people were saying in the DMs, and just being like, oh, you're always really like, can you do a workshop on visibility or sales? And I was just like, I need to like actually create something around this that's in quite a lot of depth for people, because I know that it's a real problem about like how to show up, how to take up space, especially as women. I think we're concerned about talking too much about ourselves, or you know, look pretty and stay quiet. And when you're a business owner, that just is not going to bring in the pennies. So
well, if anyone has any questions, feel free to pop them in the question box. Otherwise, feel free to have a think on it and get in touch via email or DM. We'd be happy to answer anything.
Yeah, definitely.
Just a question, what if people are kind of thinking away, to improve your engagement on Instagram and thereby increase your visibility. If you like more people's pictures and things, does that then increase your visibility on other people's pages?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say two things. One, definitely engage with other people and almost like force them to engage back with you by asking questions. And so rather than it being like, love this, that's cute, like make sure that you're asking specific questions. So saying things like, you know, oh, this is so beautiful, where did you get it from? Or how did you come up with the idea? Like take just a second longer to think about something that's slightly more engaging. And the other thing I would say is really take notice of the subtle / not so subtle messages that Instagram is trying to tell you. And so, you know, as an example, they've introduced Reels now, which is all the video content. And so to me, that is saying make more videos rather than it being just a picture of your product. Maybe you could do like I've seen girls putting like a slow motion video of it going through the sewing machine, or like packing it up. So they'll put like a camera over their workspace of like putting it into the box and tying a ribbon around it or whatever. Like people need more video.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say is like, you know, you used to be able to just chat away on stories. Now it cuts you off after 4. And the reason I think they're doing that is because what they're trying to say is this shouldn't be on stories if it's any longer than 4 things. It should therefore be an IGTV. So that's where they want you to create like long form content. And so if something comes out or it launches or it's new, like GIFs, when you like all the little polls, why do you think they put all the polls and everything on there? Is because they want you to force your audience to engage back with you. And so make sure you're using them. Like they introduced voice notes. Why do you think they introduced that? Because they want you to be talking to your customers rather than just like text replying. So yeah, I would definitely say notice the features that they're giving you for free, might I add. So the best way to get good engagement is to up your level of engagement and also use what's new, because the engagement I've had on my reels is like through the roof compared to, so as an example, I usually get like 500 people watching my stories a day. On my reels, I've probably had, like my highest one has been 60,000 views.
Wow.
It's mental, like mental engagement. That was of something that had absolutely nothing to do with my work, might I add. It was about my fish fingers I had for dinner one day. But also, you know, like on the whole, the others are getting like somewhere between 5 and 10,000 compared to like 500 on my story. So please get on video if you
Definitely. And I think, you know, something that goes to show, like, you can see the influence from TikTok on Instagram now.
Yes. Yeah, TikTok's probably the biggest threat that Instagram have ever seen. And so like what have they done? They've just recreated it, like, and that's why they're pushing Reels so hard. Is because they're trying to almost like take down their competitor and not feel like you need to be on TikTok. So it's like, oh, but we're doing that already, so that's fine.
Yeah. So we have a question here. Izzy is launching the web shop for a boys fashion brand, Boy Wonder, in November. And she feels like she spends 99% of her time doing marketing and it's exhausting. Have you got any tips on what will be the most important to focus on right now to get awareness, get followers further into that sales funnel?
Yeah, I would say if it feels exhausting, you're probably creating too much content. And so with that pair, if you go back to that pair of shoes slide, it's like, okay, we're just going to pull out 6 things that we can talk about that one pair of shoes, but it's all around the same topic. Or say there's a post that has done really well, use that same caption in your newsletter and just like expand it out slightly. I'd say people look at all their individual platforms as unique platforms, and you've got to make sure that you're repurposing your content to like the nth degree so that it doesn't feel as exhausting. So, you know, I'll be honest, I've done this presentation a couple of times before, but I just like tweaked it for this today. And like updated it, shifted the pictures around, like shifted the content around. I saw something on Instagram a couple of days ago that I added in because I wanted to keep it fresh. But it's not like I rewrite this slide document every time I do this presentation. Like that definitely would be exhausting. So I would say it might be worth re-looking at how you're creating your content, because it shouldn't be exhausting. But I know I say that reluctantly, like because it can be. I think I'd also say if you're launching, my analogy for this is, did you ever watch World's Strongest Man when you were younger at Christmas? And they had, you know, when they would like pull a lorry on their back and they'd be going like, oh, oh, like this to get the lorry going. And then once the lorry's like wheels were in motion, they would then start like basically running with this lorry on their back. And it takes 80% of your energy to launch something, and then once it's launched it gets a hell of a lot easier. It's the same with an aeroplane. I think somebody told me it uses 80% of its fuel capacity to actually launch the plane, and then the rest of it uses the other 20%. And so yes, it does feel exhausting at the moment, but I promise you it won't necessarily need to feel like that forever.
Cool, thank you. Sorry, I muted myself now. We've got removal men coming and going now.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that analogy. World's Strongest Man or for show.
I've got to have an analogy in there. Izzy, if you do struggle like with your content, I think the course could be quite good because it just gives you a little bit of structure and strategy rather than feel like you're flailing all around the place.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. Everyone saying thank you in the comments. So thank you everyone for joining us and participating, sending in any of your questions. As we mentioned, you are more than welcome to get in touch with either of us. Yeah. You should have both of our information by now. And thank you. Do keep your eyes out for upcoming webinars with the LDC Accelerator program, providing you with all of the tips and tricks that you should need to grow as a successful business. Elizabeth, thank you so much again. It's always such a pleasure to work with you. Yeah, thank you so much for your time. And if anyone is looking for the recording of this afterwards, then we would be more than happy to share that.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Have a lovely evening.
Thanks everyone. I'm going to go jump in the back of this lorry now and carry some furniture across London.
I'll see you later.
Bye everyone. Bye.